Well, the inspiration for that was not really the language. It was that in the past we've been always looking for great classics
Mm-hmm.
of the popular repertoire. And we have, through the years, suggested songs like Bésame Mucho, for example,
Yeah.
which seems to be the world's most recorded song, for
Mm-hmm.
example.
Okay.
And it's a Mexican bolero.
Yeah.
So the inspiration for this album, Amor Pasion, was to find the greatest classics from the Latin American repertoire.
Ah, okay.
And they just happened to be all in Spanish. There could have been some Brazilian Portuguese on there as well, but it just didn't happen like that. So the Spanish is kind of an obvious one, but it's a coincidence still. It was not the idea we do a whole album in Spanish. We said we just thought we'd just do the greatest Latin American songs, and that's what came out. In the beginning, the albums, certainly the first three. In the beginning, the albums, certainly the first three, I'd say 4 albums, probably up until The Promise.
Mm-hmm.
No, maybe even Wiki. But certainly the first 3 albums were completely based on songs.
Okay.
They were picked by songs. This is a great song. We want to record that. That's a song that would work nicely for Il Divo. So you had a bunch of songs and you went into the studio with those. And then you recorded probably 16 songs, 20 songs.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just put them all next to each other and thought, okay, we've got 15, 16, 17 songs now. How are we going to combine these on an album?
Okay.
And you made a selection and you just tried to put it together so it flows and has a bit of light and shade. In recent years, definitely with the last 2 albums, it was more a concept of a style of music. The previous album we've done, A Musical Affair,
Yeah.
which was all music theater repertoire. So that was the starting point. We kind of want to gather what we think are the greatest songs from the whole music theater repertoire, which is about a century of repertoire as well. And this time, as I told you, the Latin American repertoire. And now going forth, because we're obviously already thinking about what's coming after Amor Pasion.
Wow. Okay.
As record sales are not that interesting anymore these days for an artist. It's the record is more just to promote your new album, to promote your new repertoire that you're going to present
Mm-hmm.
on a forthcoming tour. So what we're thinking now is we start thinking about a concept for a new show.
Yep.
And then once we've got an idea for what we could do with a new show, we're going to start looking for repertoire that would fit the type of show we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a big shift over the last 12, 13 years we've been together actually in that. But that's come to different elements, to the fact that we are established as Il Divo. Il Divo is a certain musical entity in the music business and in the music world, and we know what we do. In the beginning, it was much more searching for an identity through the first few albums.
Yeah.
And then also just because, the way the music scene and the music business works these days, that the live shows, that's the interesting things for the artist and for the audience as well, because records are just available anytime, anywhere for anybody.
Yep.
With Spotify and everything. So, the live is that what counts these days. I think it was just a very exciting idea, to create something like that. The exciting thing about that being as well that nobody had a concrete idea of what it was going to look like.
Yeah.
It's not like we had entirely carte blanche, but still, Il Divo is based on Carlos, David, Sebastian, and Urs go into the studio and sing together. That's the concept.
Yeah.
And the rest we made that happen together with the producers that in the beginning did not have a vision either. We just worked together. We just started somewhere. We started recording, and together we just created this sound, this band, this style of music almost that we're doing, and that has been copied so much, and since we've been so successful with it. And yeah, that was just, I think, I don't know, nobody knew at the time when we started where this was going to go, but I can't even tell you. I think just the perspective of doing this, just traveling to London. I live in Amsterdam at the moment, where I had been studying for 8 years, and I worked at the opera there, and just traveling to London, going into studios with other singers and starting, just making something new. It's just an exciting project, and I guess I just took it, and never regretted it since. Well, I hope that we can go on with what we're doing for a long, long time. We always have managed so far to find new challenges musically, to find new repertoire that is interesting, that brings us just a step further, but does not completely lead us away from what Il Divo is.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the center of Il Divo and of its success and of its identity is always the four voices, and that we sing, the way we sing and the way we sing together. Mm-hmm. And that's the important thing about Il Divo. And no matter what we do, we can never lose that, because we know that is what our audience appreciate about us. And that's what is great about the four of us being together. That's the sum that it's greater than its parts. And I hope that over the next 10, 20 years, what do I know, that we can keep on finding new ways of expressing ourselves, new ways of adapting Il Divo to different music, or adapting new music to Il Divo, and just keep surprising the audience, keep evolving, keep moving forward, and keep just making great music together. I just never wanted to flatten out. I never want to release an album or a tour where I think, yeah, that was kind of mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'd rather stop. But so far, we've always managed to find something new that is challenging and exciting. And I'm sure there's still loads out there in the music world for us to be discovered.